what concerns you the most right now, Mark?
We really need an immediate ceasefire. We need to have a cessation of hostilities and the movement towards peace. Uh, while I understand that Israel feels its need to respond, and they have, uh, we need to stop this before a ground incursion. I was in Gaza immediately the day after Operation Cast Lead in 2009, and the destruction was widespread and horrific. I don't think that we need to see a situation where more civilians are killed and destroyed in this conflict. It is in not only Israel's best interest, but in everyone's best interest for us to move as rapidly as possible to a solution to this conflict, but one that is a negotiated peace and settlement, and not one that is of more and more war. Thank you.
Mark, just to follow up on that, it's very difficult to convince a country. I say this as an Indian who has experienced, terrorism that comes almost like an act of war, and that's the massive military buildup, by the way, at the Gaza border. It's very difficult to convince a country that has just experienced a horrific terror attack, 200 of whose citizens are still in the custody and the captivity of Hamas, to negotiate a peace settlement, a political dialogue right now. This is not the time that anyone in Israel is going to be willing to hear this. So when you call for a ceasefire, you'd have to convince Israel that it is in Israel's best interest. You can't make a moral argument to a country seething with rage, with pain, with anxiety. How would you do that?
I appreciate that. I'm a 9/11 survivor. I was in the Pentagon when the airplane struck. And that
Mm.
incident led to 20 years of war and death for my country and many other countries throughout the world. And I think that it's time for Israel to learn from the lesson of the United States and the failures that we had during what's called the global war on terror. And perhaps we need to look for better answers in our world than just conflict. I really appreciate that Israelis are angry. They have been wronged. There have been war crimes committed against them. Murder, the use of sexual violence as a weapon, and taking hostages. These are all war crimes. There is no excuse for that. But the response to war crimes is not more war crimes. So I look to a negotiated settlement.